hopefully we can take this knowledge we're getting and turn it into action. I think that's ultimately what we need to do, not just get the press done, we have to do something. And speaking of doing something, I think our next speaker has done a lot. And I'm just going to give a brief introduction. I was so impressed by it. Let me just talk about some of the things you've been involved in so people can know. She and her husband have owned and operated a community-supported agricultural farm for 19 years, certified organic, and one of the first in Rock County. They're one of the 4 oldest CSA farms in the Fair Share CSA Coalition, which is nationally recognized, and it promotes organic CSA farms in Wisconsin and neighboring states. She's one of the Fair Share Board of Directors. She spearheaded the Citizens for Clean Water. She fought a CAPO, and she sent me that, and I have to admit I had to look that up. I should know this. We do so many different issues, and that's one of the great things I learned something. So I looked that up, and it's the concentrated animal feeding operation. That's a factory farm, essentially. She fought that in Rock County for 10 years, taking the case to the Wisconsin Supreme Court last summer. She's been a member and has served on the board of the Green Rock Audubon Society. She's active in the Wisconsin Farmers Union. And she wrote in her thing when she gave me their bio, she said, mother of 5 children for what that's worth. I think that's worth a lot. And lastly, and perhaps most important, she may be my distant cousin. Her great-grandfather was Adam Lee Ogg, captain in the Army for the Iowa 3rd in the Civil War. And the Oggs come from Iowa. My grandfather came from Davenport, Iowa, I believe. So there may be a connection there. So give her a big hand.
You didn't mention that I got to go to Africa, my materials from Africa, and teach composting to people in Senegal, which was an awesome experience. And took me someplace totally out of this world that I live in farming, but still those people are affected by chemicals. So it's everywhere. I'm going to bring you back down to earth here. I live in trenches. I live on a little bitty organic farm in the ocean of chemicals. And sorry, I'll talk a little louder. And then this winter, I went to California for an international CSA conference and saw what ocean of chemicals is on the vegetables in California, and I was horrified. So we really have some serious business going on here. And we've been educated. Now you go out there and share what you've learned. That's what's important. What we tell you tonight, you must share what you learned. If you don't know what a CSA is, I'll tell you that first. Community-supported agriculture, a little farm, and now there are many of us in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of the forerunners in the country for this type of agriculture. But it's hard. It's hard to be an organic farmer in Wisconsin. So we feed people who subscribe to our farm for a certain period of time. And my farm is 20 weeks. Once a week, they get whatever is coming out of our gardens at that time, certified organic food, and we try to teach you how to cook it, how to use it. It's amazing how many people don't have a clue how to cook their food. So they're eating all this processed junk, which is full of chemicals. You better learn. If you don't know, you better learn, because you're going to be very sick if you don't eat good food. So our farm has been in operation almost 20 years in Rock County, which 20 years ago was not the least bit friendly to an organic farmer and still is having a little bit of trouble. Yes?
What's the name of the farm again?
Scotch Hill Farm. And it's the name of our road. It's not that original. Obviously, I have Scotch in my background. I'm Scottish. So,
The Oggs did.
The Oggs did, and so did on my dad's side of Morton. So I'm full of it. And so yeah, I've been involved in agriculture in Rock County for almost 20 years as a 4-H leader who bumped up against a lot of conventional ag attitude many times. My husband and I have been tigers ever since the get-go, and we fought in our community for 10 years against Larson Acres CAFO, which you may or may not be familiar with in Evansville, and we lost in state Supreme Court last summer, which was very disheartening after such a struggle and so many chili suppers and all the things it took to raise the money to fight like that. But you can't give up the fight. Can't give up the fight.
Would you tell us what the fight was about?
It was about clean water. Did you help us on that?
How can I help you?
Did you help us with studies of the water in Magnolia Township?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I know some people from the university did help us. But it was to protect the water, but, and the town's right, which you're having the same thing going on the other side of the county now. The town's right to impose their restrictions on these, they're just gone. It's just gone. So, anyway, we have to pay attention to what's going on, or we're going to lose every right we have. And our right to water and food that's healthy, that's a fundamental human right, I believe. You take is that why they're going to kill us all? Who are they going to sell their stuff to? All right. Now, I'll get totally off track of my notes because I get really emotional about this. It's been a long fight to be an organic farmer. I'm expected annually to pay money to a certifier who comes and goes through my records with a fine-tooth comb about everything that's applied to the soil, all the seeds I purchase, how we rotate our crops, everything we do. Every year, I pay for it. And it's not cheap. Plus, they get a percentage of your sales. Do conventional farmers have to do that? Last year, on my farm, we got spray drifted by a neighbor. And I reported it. And it took that cow 10 months to give me a report. And that was with me bugging the crap out of them. And when they gave me a report, they said, well, yes, you were spray drifted, and that is trespassing. That is a violation. And the farmer who spray drifted us did admit to doing it. Pictures, tests, the whole works. But in the control group of soil up in your garden, we found something different. So we can't prove it was him. I had no recourse for all the losses. I'm certified organic. I couldn't sell a single thing that was exposed to that drift. It was done. Is that fair? I don't know. It makes me angry. But that's the situation. That's the government. That's the protection. It's hard to be an organic farmer in Wisconsin. But we do it because we care. And protecting the earth from what we just saw is absolutely essential. And it's up to you. Your single most important vote is the dollars that you spend. Every time you spend them, you must think. You must examine, question, where are those dollars going? Who is profiting from them? I can get mad at my neighbor, the farmer, who's spray drifted. But this guy is in a predicament. He's buying GMO seeds. And it's very hard now for conventional farmers to find seeds that aren't GMO seeds. When he buys those GMO seeds, there's a whole passel of chemicals that goes with them to grow them. The soil. When I work in my gardens, I put my hands in rich, brown, healthy soil, and it feels good, and I see insects. But I look across at the farm, all around me, on all four sides, and the soil is pale and hard, crusty. They have to put all kinds of stuff in it, like your picture. It's totally on life support. That land is just being fed drugs. And lots of those conventional farmers say, oh, it's just too much work. You have to do all that paperwork, it's just too much work. It's too much work for us to survive. Work, that's what our life is about. We have to work, all of us. So let's do the work, the right work. It's like people saying we can't buy organic food, it's too expensive. Bullshit. How much does your health insurance cost? More than you're going to spend on that organic food. And that organic food is your health assurance. And you need to be putting that in your body. And you need to not be lazy. Just like that farmer. You read every blasted label. If it doesn't say it's organic, I don't think I'd buy it. I don't buy it. But it's not safe. I'm proud of the organic label. I'm proud that I earned that. Monsanto doesn't appear to be too proud of a GMO label. I read that one of the Monsanto officials said, why would we want to do that? It's like putting a skull and crossbones on the product. Yeah. So, if it doesn't have an organic label, you better question it. And think long and hard before you put it in your body. I have a daughter who was raised on good, healthy food, went away to college and came back with celiac disease. Well, there are a number of reasons for that. But there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood that seem to be having that problem, that grew up around all that stuff that's sprayed on us. And I eat a clean diet. If I put something unhealthy in my system, immediately my body reacts. Your body tells you. It's like when you smoke. You get used to it. And when you don't smoke, have one cigarette, you'll be lightheaded and ready to throw up. Food is the same way. It's the same way. Clean your system out, and you start to put that crap back in, and your body's going to tell you right away. Get a drink of water. There was a doctor that I met more than a decade ago who was an environmental doctor. She took care of people who had illnesses from the environment, which reminds me, you should all read a book called Living Downstream. And that will make you think more about things. But anyway, this doctor treated a person like that out there, to many people, who had illnesses caused by the environment. And she said, you know, it makes me so unhappy, so sad, because by the time they get to me, I can't do anything. It's too late. Let's don't let it get too late. Vote with your dollars smart every time you spend them. Not just food, but everything. Because our environment is precious, and we see what we're doing to the future for our children. This is awful. This is not right. Our government's not going to help us, folks. They are bought and sold. They're not going to help us. When Tammy Baldwin signed on to the Monsanto Protection Act, my faith is down the toilet. I just don't know. We cannot count on them. We are the people. We, the people. Remember that. It's not them to fix it, it's us. We must fix it. We must do it together. I'm tired of being the Lone Ranger out there in the countryside with all that crap going on around me and fighting a CAFO. And I'm tired of doing that by myself. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. We got to be warriors. We got to be vigilant. We got all those little babies to protect. I have one little grandson, and I want a better world for him than what I see is happening right now. When we were in Africa, those people lived out in villages. They worked so hard. It never rains, but they don't know where their seeds come from, and they're worried. They had no fertility. Teaching compost was a really exciting thing to do, but they had been taught, you put a little compost and you put a little chemical. And we kept saying, no, don't put the chemical, just the compost, just the compost. But somebody makes money, and they're thinking, these people can't afford it any more than the farmers that live around me can afford it. It is unsustainable. We cannot have a system dependent on stronger and stronger and stronger chemicals every year. And that's what's happening. And you should see the burdock in my yard. It is vicious. And I was thinking about that today as I was whacking it down. How come this burdock is just so mighty? And you can't eat it, but I don't like it. And the bugs that change. When we moved to our farm, there were monarch butterflies. They were so beautiful every year. And then all of a sudden, the larvae got tiny. There were fewer and fewer. Now there's none. None. We saw Asian beetles like crazy. That was an out of whack thing for a number of years. Now there's none. You know why? They sprayed the Japanese beetles and they killed them all. Asian beetles may be pesky, but they do eat aphids. I don't mind them being around. But now they're gone. This is happening. Within 20 years, I'm seeing change after change after change in a system that should be stable, an ecosystem where it should remain relatively the same. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And if you don't live out where you can see this, trust me, I'm telling you the truth. And it's frightening. And now we have other evidence. Frightening evidence. The bees, my God, the bees. We cannot live without bees. I have in my notes, and I think you need to know, that right now, in our country, 94% of the soy that's grown is GMO. 88% of the corn that is grown is GMO. And 95% of the canola that is grown is GMO. Now that's a hefty chunk, folks. That's a lot. And that's only some of them. You know, those are main crops. They're in our food. They're in everything. They're in the animals that we eat, or that we eat. That's a lot. How do we turn this around? How do we turn this around? Voting with your dollars. It's the